Today we are going to make an interesting object. We are going to demonstrate making an idea into something real. So we have an idea to make an interesting object, and we want to have a hoop, we want to have a ball, and we want to have a base. That's it. That is our interesting idea that we want to make into something real. Continuing the recording. In order to make something interesting, an idea real, we are going to work in Second Life into a clear build area. And we're going to start by building the ball. We're going to continue by building the hoop. And then we're going to finish by completing something to make a base. Continuing the recording. Let's start with the base because it's the easiest thing to work with. We need to stretch it, so we're going to use our stretch menu, and we're going to stretch it. In the normal size of these objects is like 1/2 meter, so we're going to stretch it into, I don't know, 1.5 meters. And then we don't want it to be so tall, so we're going to cut it down to size a little bit. I don't know, somewhere about in there. Now we need the hoop. Now the hoop, instead of stretching it, we got to move the hoop over on top of the base. So the hoop's going to come on top of the base. And we're going to stretch the hoop. Again, we want the hoop to be, as big as the base. And now we're going to have to move it again. But it looks like a donut. So we're going to stretch it down and make it look more like a hoop. And not only that, we don't want it flat. We're going to want to rotate it. So we're going to rotate it. And now we have to move it again. So there, that looks a little bit more interesting, doesn't it? We're trying to make an interesting object. And then finally, we got to get this ball in here somewhere. So we're going to bring the ball over here and move it up and put it in the middle. Kind of in the middle there. So there, we've made an interesting object. Now, in order to keep working with this interesting object, we want to have a thinner looking hoop, and we want to make sure we're working with the hoop. So if I slide it back and forth, oh yeah, that's the hoop. So it might help if I change the name of this to say hoop. And while we're at it, let's change the name of this to say the ball. And let's change the name of this to say this is the base. So now we have the base, the ball, and the hoop. Recording. Now we said that we want the hoop to be thinner. We're going to use something called profile cut down here, and we're going to move it up to be 0.5. So there we go. Now we have a nice thin hoop. Well, now we want to make the ball a little more interesting, so we're going to edit the ball. And for the ball, we're going to use something called a path cut. And let's pick this one. We're cutting it in half down to 0.5. And then we're going to make it hollow. So let's make it hollow up to about 60%. So now we have an interesting looking hollow ball. Doing the recording. Well, now we want to make this base more interesting. So we're going to edit this, which we know is the base. So we're going to go to the object, and for this we're going to make the taper. We're going to make taper go all the way up to a 1, and the Y go all the way up to a 1. And now it kind of turned it into it's a pointed base.